Hello everyone, in today's video we'll be going over the Blueprint Heist, which is a web challenge from Business CTF from the Hack the Box this year. And I found it really interesting because of the multiple vulnerabilities that we'll be finding and kind of chaining them all together to reach the final goal to read a flag. So let's go ahead and start the instance first. And while the instance is starting, I have some notes here, so what we have to do here for the vulnerabilities that I identified. So first of all, we have to forge the JW token, then identify the server-side request forgery, then identify the SQL injection, actually SQL injection bypass because of the weak regex. Then we see AGS, SSTY or the server-side template injection, and then finally combine 3 and 4 for the 5 or combine SQL injection with SST, AJS, SSTY to go ahead and read the flag. This will be this where we are going to go over it, so it's kind of like a map, but this will be much more clear when we analyze the code. So for this, even despite it's marked as an easy challenge, it's a little bigger code base than we are kind of used to for the Hack the Box easier challenges, which are usually small code base, small application, but this one is a little bigger, so I kind of like it a lot. So let's go ahead and see if we can, so the application is boot up. Let's go ahead and add it to the host in the burp, so we don't have it to the scope, so we don't have to proxy unnecessary traffic. And let's see if let's turn on the Foxy proxy as well. See if everything is smoothly. So yeah, this is urban planning for a public information system. Nice UI there. And let's see if the proxying works just fine. Yeah. So if we go ahead and just explore application without looking at the code, we can click on environmental impact. And I don't know if this is like intentional purpose of the app, but this doesn't really work for me. I try multiple times to generate this report, but it's always an error. As we can see here, the request is being made, but before the request is being made, the post request to download the report, we see there is a get request for a get token, which is a JWT token here. And this is a token we'll be using to make all kind of post requests. You'll see it's still loading, so there is a timeout error. So I don't know if this is intentional or not, but we see also the URL. So whenever I see the URL like this, it reminds me of the SSRF, but we'll get to it. If we analyze the code, we see there is there is different routes, internal and the public JS. So public is what we can do. We see there is a report progress, there is a report environmental impact, and there is a get token and download. That's what we are allowed to do as a normal user, public user, and then we have something internal for the admin endpoint and GraphQL endpoint, which we are interested in doing so. But we also see a schema. Schema is actually, this application is leveraging the GraphQL, so it's kind of interesting way of also getting the data, and it's actually combining that with the MySQL database that we have here. Now the first thing that we can go ahead and what I like to do, try to navigate to admin to see what kind of restriction applications applying to us. And then we see that we are unauthorized, the access denied token is required. And if we go ahead and look at the code here, we can go ahead and see, if we go to the security, that we see that for application checking if we are internal there. So there's one check, the other check is for detecting the SQLI and then for the URL. So if we try to navigate to the admin.js, we can go ahead and let me see. So we are getting the token. So we need to, error fetching the data. This is not what we're looking for at the moment. This is all from there. So that's fine. What I see from here, there is nothing specifically saying to us in the code why we are getting denied at this specific admin, but we can see that if we we see that we are unauthorized. So there is some kind of the access control performing, and I assume that right at the first glance that access control is performing based on the JWT token. So if we go to the app and we enumerate the request, we can send it to repeat or we can send it again. We see therefore unauthorized, and then we see it says that token is required. So if we go ahead and try to pass a token, the token that we got earlier from the get request, the initial get request, let's see if this is actually going to help us. And passing the token again for one unauthorized but different error message. Now we see that we have the token supplied, but we are getting the unauthorized message. And if, well, with really handy extension for the burp is JSON web token. So we can go ahead and see that our role is a user, and we definitely want to change the role to be an admin, but we have to have some kind of a HMAC secret for this one. So if we check the code again, there is an environment variables, and let me just find those. Yeah, right here we see there is secret is strong key no leak please. So let's go ahead and take this one and navigate to the JWT.io, where we can go ahead and forge the JWT cookie. So let's go ahead and first change the secret. There it is. From there, let's go ahead and navigate to the burp and take this JWT token. And let's go ahead and paste it here. Nice. So we see the role is user, but we have a secret now. So if I try to supply admin, now we got a new JWT token with a role for an admin. So let's see what's going to happen if we pass this one for the admin endpoint. A different error message 403 forbidden, which is nice. Our token forging works. So secret is valid, and it says only available for internal users. So this, when I saw this message at the first glance, remind me of the URL when we want to generate a report with the app about the server-side request forgery, because with the server-side request forgery we are making request via the app. So request is actually going to come from the local host itself. So let's go ahead and try to access this endpoint via the URL. So we see that we are getting 500 internal server error, and also there is a error message is really handy, as we can see what's happening. And this tool is actually used to, if we can see here, I already looked up for it. There is a server-side request forgery vulnerability for this one, HTML to PDF. And we do not have to do this one. I believe I did a Hackbox challenge like a week or two ago, which requires this approach. So I think I also try for this application as well. It's vulnerable. So the idea here is that we can go ahead and start a PHP server, expose it using the ngrok or something like that, whatever we want to. We can start EC2 instance or whatever, and they'll read the local files. But now we are not really interested in local files particularly. We want to go ahead and try to see what's on this admin endpoint. So let's go ahead and do this one right away. Send this to repeater, and then let's go ahead and change this one to be a localhost. And now the idea here also, I forgot to mention the code, is for security. We see that address is checking this internal, so let's go ahead and use this address. And if we check, if I'm not wrong, the index, yes, the application is running on port 1337. So let's go ahead and try to see if we can be successful there. So 0.0.137. And then slashing into the admin, passing the token as parameter. See, token is right here. Apply changes, send it. And we have 200, okay, this time we are not getting the 500. So if we request this in a browser, request in the browser, in original session, let's go ahead and close this one, give it a try. And we see the admin panel, we see nothing interesting. What really got my eye is this employee presence, where we can go ahead and search for users. Of course, this is a PDF, we are not able to do this way, but we know there is a GraphQL endpoint which we are able to access this way. So if we try to access GraphQL the same way we tried for the admin, still going to get unauthorized, the access is denied, token is required. If we try to pass our token to any kind of a token, of course this is not going to be JWT, we see unauthorized, invalid or expired token. If we try to pass the token that we have here, the valid admin token that we forged using the JWTO website, oops, no, definitely not that one, like this, we see the error occur only available for internal users. So same approach is for GraphQL and also for the admin. So let's go ahead and leverage this PDF, HTML to PDF endpoint and the download, and go ahead and try to access this one. So we're actually going to use the same approach. Localhost on 1337, use the Actually, we can just switch to GraphQL here. GraphQL token, and then for GraphQL, we also have to supply a query, right? So if we navigate back to the code, if we checked the schema, I believe it is. Let me just find it. Internal schema, there it is. So we see we can get data by name. So let's go ahead and see if we can go ahead and do this at all. So it's requiring a name as an argument, which is a GraphQL string. And then we also want to go ahead and check the database, but let's go ahead and first do that. So GraphQL, we have a token being supplied. Let's go ahead and append the query. So the query will go and be get data by name, if I'm not wrong. So get data by name. And then we also have to supply the name, as is actually going to be an argument. Oops. The name in this case is actually, yes, I'm wrong. Get data by, no, I'm not wrong. Get data by name is what we have. And then the name, let's say the name is John, right? Why I'm using John? Because if we check the database, I think there is multiple like John, and there's couple other Johns. Let's see if this is going to work. But we also have to specify the name, department, and is present as a columns. So in order for this query to be valid, so let's go ahead and do this one as well. So name, I forgot the name, department, and is present. And then, sorry if my camera is in the way of this one. Let me move it to the other side. Okay. We have this apply changes, send the request, and if we did everything correct, we should get 200, okay, and we are getting it. So let's go ahead and request this in browser to see the result of our queries. So we can see here. So we see that get data by name is the query that we're using, and we are getting two results. For first name is John, the one we supply, which he is a part of the construction and he is present. Another one is Bob, but it's actually getting the last name for John, so just part of the last name in department of equipment. So we know that we are able to go ahead and call the queries, GraphQL queries, right? Now the interesting part is, so by going to the map, we know we finished step 1 for the teachability token. We finished the step 2 for the SSRF, which is a what we are doing right now, calling the admin, fetching the GraphQL queries and seeing the admin portal. Now it's time for part 3, which is SQL injection. Now the idea here is that we can see here in the code base for security there is this regex. Now in order not to waste time here on video, I checked the regex, and the regex is weak, and regex is ignoring everything after the new line character. So everything after the new line character will be ignored like this. So we can go ahead and take advantage of that one. Now the trick here is, as we are using the GraphQL queries, the /n is actually going to break the GraphQL queries. So I found a workaround this one by unicoding the new line characters. So in order to do so, let's go ahead and first let's see how this is actually vulnerable to SQL injection. So we are actually using the same query, get data by name. We see that we are using fetching by the John. So the idea here is that this part is going to be vulnerable to the SQL injection, and what are we going to do is actually besides this like mini map, I also have my original notes from when I was doing it. So we can see here that yes, this is we are reaching the step 4. The step 5 is actually going to be unicoding the /n and perform union based attack. Now the idea here is that this is actually going to be a Unicode payload that worked out for me. So I'm going to copy it out, take it to, I'm sorry if this is a little small also. So you can see that this one, and then from there we are now tricking the regex by using this /add escape, which is actually making the regex ignore. And now we can go ahead and start with using the single quote for our SQL injection payload. Now the first thing what I like to do is use union select to see with null values or dummy values to see how many columns is actually being returned. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So union select null, And also, since this is a MySQL database, because we have access to the code base, the comment for MySQL database is actually going to be minus minus and then empty space, which is really important to know. We can also check it for the SQL injection ports vigor cheat sheet. Yes, here is the one. It's really handy to have this one, as it's actually going to provide many useful information about the database. We can see the comments. And for MySQL, you see there is a minus minus and then note the space after double dash or minus. Yeah, so this is really important to have in order to make this payload to work. So we are using the null values. We are using the \n unicoded, and let's go ahead and enumerate how many columns is actually being returned in the response. So let's send the request. If everything is fine, yeah, we got 200. Okay, let's request this in the browser. And let's see what we get in the response. And we said, okay, great, this is the SQL injection error message. So use the select statement, have a different number of columns. So one column, which we try right now, is definitely not going to work. As we know, the more columns is being returned. Originally, we know from a database that 3 are being returned, right? But let's go ahead, and sometimes we have some alien columns, etc. So we want to check if how many columns exactly are being returned, so we can go ahead and perform our exploitation. So let's go ahead and see if the 2 columns are being returned. Waiting for 200. Okay, let's request it in the browser. Browser right there. And we see still again the same error. So because I already did this one, obviously, I know the 4 null values is actually going to give us the right, no, is actually not going to give us an error. So null, I'm going to append 2 more null values, and everything looks fine. Let's send this query. And now there won't be error message if I'm not, oops. There won't be any kind of an error message if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly. And there it is. You see, there is no more SQL injection error message with the select statement. And now we are saying the null values for all 3 columns within our database that we have right here. So nice. Now the idea here is that SQL injection and bypassing the regex, as we see in our minimap, is actually not going to be enough. Because we have, in order to read the flag, we have to somehow have the code execution order to invoke this read flag written in C, which is actually going to get out the root and flag.txt. Now the idea here is what comes to our mind first is actually combining the SQL injection and code execution. So this is where I spend the most time solving this challenge, and the approach is really interesting. So we know the application is using the AJS templating engines within the errors. So if we check the errors that AJS, not the errors AJS, but the error controller in JS, we see it's actually using templating engine to go ahead and create the errors, right? So there is all kinds of different, so 400, 401, 500. Now, the idea that I got here is that there is no 404 AJS, which is actually our message that we are getting when we see the resources that do not exist to the application. So if we can somehow leverage the AJS alongside with the SQL injection that we found possible, that would be awesome. And this is the new approach I learned doing this this challenge, and though I already know that we can go ahead and leverage the MySQL to write files, right? But kind of combining with the server-side template injection for the AJS is something really interesting that I learned during this web challenge. So this is actually going to be, if we check my notes here, let me just adjust just a little bit. We see that there is a now payload for combining SQL injection with AJS code execution. So here we have our still union select with a 3 with a 4 null values. Now 3 because we are replacing 1 with the. This is a classic SSTY injection where we are actually using the child process for executing some system commands, right? Now we are using this approach. I'm just showing this so you guys don't have to watch me type all the code. Now the idea here is that we are replacing one of the null values with a AJS code or server-side template injection. Now we are leaving the 3 other dummy or null values, and we are fetching or outputting the results of this command into out file, which is under the app views errors 404 AJS, and then we are still commenting out the rest of the query, and we are leaving the rest of the GraphQL query as it was, right? So the idea here is that if we check the app views and errors in our code base, we see there is an app, views errors, and we are creating a 404 AJS right there. So let's go ahead and copy this payload. So let me see. Here we do want to copy this one. Should be fine. So let's go ahead and edit our payload a little bit. Let me see, I copied a single quote as well. So if we replace this one, should be, okay, union select. Now we are calling the, yes, that should be just fine. Let me see. Yes, we are calling the child process, and then we are using the rest of the null values. So let's go ahead and give it a try with this one. Let me just double check one more time. Union select, and then now this looks fine to me. Let's give it a try, send the request, and we got 200. Okay, now if we again request this in a browser, let's see if we, oh, why I didn't apply the changes. All right, I see. So let's go ahead and give it a try one more time. Yep. Copy and pasting errors. So we copy everything from a single quote all the way to the comment, and now this should work. And also do not forget to add that extra space after the double dash. So now this, let's double check this one more time. We are using we are tricking the regex with \n, which is Unicode not to break the GraphQL query. Now we're using union select. I think this is just fine, union. Now we are using the child process or the SSTY there for the AJS, and then we are having the 3 more null values, and then we are using the into out file for the views in the 404. So now what I forgot to do last time is to apply changes, and then let's give it a try. So 200, okay, let's request it in a browser. And now we see interesting error, says the file views error 404 AJS already exists in location. Now if we go ahead and try to visit any non-existent location like a test file, we see that we got a flag and we successfully solved the challenge. So I hope you like this one. I find it really interesting because of many vulnerabilities that we have to do and that we have to know about and learn about, and kind of chaining vulnerabilities in the end. I find it really interesting and think it's really nice real life approach that we might find ourselves doing for some other web app pen tests or security engagement. So thank you for watching, and have a nice day.